Hi there and welcome to Atoll TV's ISO 45001 playlist. I'm going to review the requirements of Clause 4.3, determining the scope of the OH&S Management System. I'm going to break it down and turn it into something we can all understand. You will then be able to apply this to your own organisation system and understand what the requirements will look like for you. No more guessing. Hi, I'm Jackie Stapleton and you're watching Atoll TV, the place to expand your career and learn from experts. I'm the Director of Auditor Training Online and I'm here to help you on your way to implementing or auditing against ISO 45001, the 2018 revision. While you're here, I'd love you to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on anything exciting in the future. To start off with, I'm going to ask you a question. What clause in ISO 45001 do you need support in unpacking and determining what it might look like applied to your organisation? Or if you're an auditor, which clause causes you the most uncertainty? Comment below as I'd love to help you, and this will help with our future videos in this playlist. Now, I do need you to stick around until the end so I can share with you some examples of what a documented scope looks like. Okay, let's get started. Clause 4.3. It's called Determining the Scope of the OH&S Management System. There are a few points in this clause, so I'm going to break them down and explain them bit by bit. The first point in the leading sentence is, the organisation shall determine the boundaries and applicability of the OH&S Management System. The words that stand out to me here are boundaries and applicability. I always do this when I talk about scope and boundaries and applicability. It's almost like putting a fence around the system so we know what activities, what products, what services, and even locations are included in the management system. Now, there's some more information that we are asked to consider when determining these boundaries and applicabilities. So, point A states that when determining this scope, the organisation shall consider the external and internal issues referred to in 4.1, and B, take into account the requirements referred to in 4.2. So a quick reminder that Clause 4.1 is understanding the organisation and its context, and 4.2 is understanding the needs and expectations of workers and other interested parties. So go and check those videos out in the 45001 playlist if you need to understand those requirements further. The reference back to these previous clauses is great. I love it. It shows how everything that we do within this standard is all related, and nothing that we do is just a standalone step created just to keep auditors happy and cause frustrations to businesses implementing the system. What we discovered about our business in the steps followed for Clause 4.1 and 4.2 will influence the boundaries we determine for our management system. For example, if it was identified that contractors have an influence on the OH&S management system as a large part of work is completed by contractors and the work performed is vital to meet contract requirements, then it would be necessary to ensure that those activities are included in the scope, which essentially goes back to the boundaries and applicability. It would have an adverse effect on the system if these activities were not included within the scope, as the management system would not be implemented or reviewed to include this vital scope of work. And then finally, point C states that when determining this scope, the organisation shall take into account the planned or performed work-related activities. This is a great point. We need to not only consider what activities, products and services we currently offer or are conducting, but also what do we plan to do. This highlights that the scope of our management system can and should change as the business changes. And then finally, this clause states that the OH&S Management System shall include the activities, products and services, again, within the organisation's control or influence that can impact the organisation's OH&S performance. Well, that's simple too then, isn't it? And it really supports what I mentioned earlier around considering what you learnt from clauses 4.1 and 4.2. This requirement is just about asking yourself, what is it that we do? What activities do we conduct? What products do we manufacture, build or deliver? And what services do we provide? And when considering this, can they impact the business's OH&S management system and obligations? Now, the final important point for this clause is that it states that the scope shall be available as documented information. That's great for us as auditors, as we're expecting to see a scope written down somewhere so it's clear what we are using to select our sampling from. As implementers of a system, be sure to have this documented. Now that we are speaking of documented scopes, you still might be wondering what on earth this looks like. Lucky for you, I've found a few real examples of businesses that I work with. So the first example is, it's documented and stated as research and development, project management, sales, delivery, support, service and maintenance of communication services. The second example is electrical and mechanical consulting engineers providing engineer design and documentation for mechanical and electrical installations associated with all types of building of residential, commercial or industrial nature in Australia and overseas. And finally, the third example is the importation, distribution, supply, service and repair of industrial products and other products as deemed necessary to satisfy our customers' needs and requirements. I do hope that this has been helpful to you, and thanks for joining me. And do not forget that Auditor Training Online is a recognised training provider and we know how it works in the real world. So we are confident that we can help you to make a change in your life and join the most sought after profession out there. Go to our website and enrol to transform your work and industry experience into a recognised qualification. And don't forget to subscribe to Atoll TV and leave a comment or question, as I truly do want to help you to join the best career out there with me.